welcome back to the Mike and Andrew Show. I'm Andrew Serwick here again with Mike Meredith. Mike, how are you doing today, man?
Pretty good, man. Good day.
Good to hear. We got a lot to talk about, some NFL, some NBA, a bunch of NHL stuff we have to get to, and some college football stuff we're going to have to touch on as well. So we got quite a bit ahead of us, but let's get into it. It is conference championship week in the NFL. We have two games, of course, for the AFC and NFC titles. Winner of each gets to go to the Super Bowl. So let's get into it. We'll start with the 3 o'clock game on Sunday, the AFC Championship. Ravens, Chiefs in Baltimore. Baltimore, a 4-point favorite. This game opened up as I believe it was a 3.5-point spread. It's now moved up to 4 in favor of the Ravens. Look, this year has been an incredible year for the Ravens. I mean, very dominant at home. And we saw that last week on display with that nice win over the Texans. But last week, Mahomes proved everyone wrong that, yeah, he can play on the road in the playoffs. The Chiefs last weekend looked pretty damn good. Offensively, there's a lot of things, a lot of drop passes still that they should clean up, but they definitely looked a lot better than they have really all season long. On the other side, man, Lamar Jackson, as much as I don't really like him and his play style, he has been phenomenal this year, especially on the ground. This is going to be a very close game. I feel like the Ravens will win. I think the Chiefs will keep it within a score though this entire game. I think it's going to be a lot of back and forth. The Ravens have a really, really good defense, much better than what the Chiefs have, and the Chiefs have a really good defense as well. So this is going to be one of those games to me that I find exciting because I don't think it's going to be extremely high scoring like a shootout because, like I said, these defenses are really good. But I could see something in the realm of around like a 31-28, 31-27 final here with the Ravens winning.
Yeah, for this one, I think I'm going to go with the Ravens. You know that they haven't really had the playoff experience as the Chiefs have had. But I like their team better this year. I thought the Chiefs coming in were definitely weaker. They've definitely proven me at least a little bit wrong where they have actually played some good playoff football. But I think that they easily could have lost to Buffalo, and Baltimore looks super dominant in their win at home with a chance to go to the Super Bowl. I think that the Ravens get it done, but I agree. I think it's going to be super close. I think that spread's pretty accurate. I would say, yeah, like a 3 to 4 point game. I think it's going to be pretty close.
Yeah, and Mark Andrews is going to be back for the Ravens as well, and that's going to be a huge boost to that offense that's already really, really good, both on the ground with Lamar and obviously Lamar through the air as well. He had an incredible game last week, man, so I'd like to see what he can do against this Chiefs defense. Obviously, a much better defense than what he faced last week in Houston, or against Houston, I should say. But yeah, man, this is going to be a very, very close game, I think. We know just how great this Ravens defense is. They've always been a really strong defensive team for pretty much ever, man. I mean, you could think back to like the Ray Lewis days, man. I mean, that defense was insane. And now they have an offense that can really, really complement that. With a lot of young stars, especially in the receiving core as well, which I think that definitely gives an edge to the Ravens here.
Yeah, I think so too.
So yeah, I'm taking the Ravens here. Should be a close game. NFC Championship 6:30 kickoff. San Francisco hosting the Lions. San Francisco a 7-point favorite in this game. That line has not moved since it opened. Um, Although I expect when we see the injury report tomorrow, that line to move either in favor of the Niners or in favor of the Lions, depending on the condition of Deebo Samuel. If he's limited or out, I think the Lions have a really, really good chance here. But if he's in the game and he's not limited, I think the Niners will win this game. This is going to be a very, very interesting matchup. Um, the Niners have some holes in their defense that I feel like Ben Johnson's gonna exploit because the Packers kind of exploited it last week. And then, offensively, they just have to take care of the ground game for sure. I think the Lions have a really good front seven, enough to stop, or not necessarily stop, but slow down Christian McCaffrey, who's been insane this year. The question is if Debo plays, I think we're really, really in some trouble because the secondary is going to have to try to cover him and Ayuk and still try and get some pressure on Purdy, because if you don't get pressure on Purdy, he's just going to keep making completion after completion after completion. Um, I'm going to take the Niners in this one. As much as I love my Lions, I just don't really see a way of them winning this game unless Debo's out. If Debo's out, that really helps things on the defensive side of the game for the Lions. That said, I don't think that spread where it sits right now at 7 is going to hold. I think the Lions will definitely cover that. I feel like this will be a closer game because, like I said, Ben Johnson, he will find a way to exploit this 49ers defense, just like the Packers were able to last week against them. Um, the big question though is how can the Lions defense keep their team in the game, because that's going to make all the difference in this game. And like I said, if Debo's in, man, I don't see a way the Lions win this game. If he's out though, I think the Lions have a very, very good chance.
Yeah, in this game, I mean, even if Debo is going to play, he's not going to be 100%. He was limited today, couldn't even practice. So, do I think Debo is going to play? I actually do think he is going to play. I think he's going to, they're going to do whatever they can to get him out there. But I don't think he's going to be the same Deebo Samuel that's going to be, going crazy and off. I think Ayuk is definitely going to be a struggle. Maybe I'm a little bit too optimistic and, rolling with the hometown Lions here, but I'm going to roll with them, man. I think that they can do it. They get pressure on Purdy. You know how he gets when he's under pressure, man. He throws a lot of interceptions. He's done that a lot this year. Just getting to him and giving Goff his time to throw. I think that we can match up well here in this game, and I think we squeak one out, man, and bring it home, man. Lions to the Super Bowl go crazy.
Yeah, if the Lions make it to the Super Bowl, I already told you, man, I'm heading back home for that because
Yes,
that's gonna be crazy. That said, Lions. I haven't seen anything official yet, but James Houston looks likely to go this weekend, which would be huge for the Lions' pass rush attack. He's that pass rush specialist. That he's been out, since like week 2, I think it was, when he got injured. If he's activated and he plays in this game, I think the Lions also end up defensively having a really, really much better time having him out there, especially for the obvious passing downs. It's going to be, I think, a closer game than what Vegas suggests. Debo, I mean, yeah, obviously he was very limited today in practice. I think they're just going to pump him full of fucking drugs in that shoulder and just try and have him go, man. But if he's limited use in this in the game, I feel like the Lions will really have a much better chance at at just winning this game overall. I'm gonna be rooting like hell for the Lions. I find it very hard for me, especially with that number where it is right now, to pick the Lions in this game. I'll be rooting like hell for them though. That's for sure. But I just don't really see a way that defense is gonna hold up against this Niners offense. Even if Debo's very limited in the game.
Yeah, I agree.
So it's gonna be a fun weekend for sure with these championship games. Tuesday we'll obviously go over them. Um, but yeah, that's gonna do it for the NFL for now. Till we come back around with some college football news that kind of correlates with the NFL as well. So now I got two things hockey-wise that we got to talk about. Do you want the good story or the bad story, Mike?
Let's start with the good story.
All right, so the good story: the Utah Jazz ownership group has submitted a request to the NHL to open up the expansion process. They intend to build a brand new arena that'll be shared between obviously the team that's in Salt Lake City and the Utah Jazz, of course. There's this is obviously a good thing because the NHL will expand eventually, but they're not expanding right now. Because Bettman has gone out and said, like, yeah, well, he didn't shut the door completely on expansion, but he said we're just not expanding right now. It's not a definite no, we're not expanding, but he has said that we're not expanding right now. In the future, potentially. I think the biggest thing that the NHL is waiting on right now is what's going to happen with the Arizona Coyotes, and I feel like we're going to know something right around the All-Star break, which is coming up very soon. We're going to hear something about their new arena. If they don't have any plans set in stone by then, they're going to have to relocate and they're going to have to find a place fast. I feel like Salt Lake City would be obviously the best landing spot just due to the fact that they already have a building technically that they could use, which was used for the 2002 Winter Olympics. But I feel like a lot of this will hinge on what happens with Arizona. But Arizona has a couple at least ideas about where potentially they could build an arena in Arizona. I know they're looking at a piece of property out in Mesa that could be used, or a place like they would ideally like to be in downtown Phoenix, but finding any land there is really, really tough for them. But they found also a piece of land in I think it was the northeast or northwest part of Phoenix, so not too far from downtown. But we'll see what happens with that, because I feel like the NHL is going to expand, but it's probably not going to be for another 6 years from now. But I feel like Salt Lake City would be part of that. But if Arizona doesn't actually find something, they're going to have to relocate them because, the NHL wants to start making a schedule for next year, and they like to do that very early. So, there's some pressure on the Coyotes to actually find somewhere in the Arizona Phoenix area, because again, they got to have a building really soon. Otherwise, the NHL has to relocate them. But that said, back to the Jazz owner group wanting a team. It's kind of interesting because the NHL before. I forget the owner's name, but he was trying to bring a team to the Hamilton, Ontario area for a very long time, and they just never gave him a team because he was just always pushing the NHL's buttons to expand. And then when they did, they expanded to different markets, and he was just like, "I'll just buy the team and relocate it to Hamilton." And they were like, "No." And he did this multiple times. But I feel like if the the board of governors would approve it just because you wave a bag of money in their face, they're gonna definitely say yes to another expansion team because uh, it means more money for the league, which means more money for them. Um, but you'd have to get approval from them, of course, to expand and to even just open up the expansion process. But I don't think the NHL's ready to expand yet. But if he keeps pushing the buttons, they might start turning away from him just because these people don't want to be bothered with the a guy saying, "Hey, I want a team. Let's get this going." But um, it's exciting news, of course, because obviously there's a ton of interest to grow the sport. There's a lot of cities that really want a team right now. Houston's waiting in the corner as well. They really want a team, but they're kind of just waiting for that application process to open up, and who knows how long that's going to take until they do. But yeah, Mike, what are your thoughts on this? On just NHL expansion in general, and then also with the Arizona factor rolling in here.
Yeah, so I mean, I I'm all for expansion, man. But like you said, it is going to be tough to find, you know, places to go, and the Arizona situation with the stadium. Yeah, it's interesting to see because I feel like NHL has definitely been the most open and the biggest league so far for expansion because they've had the two recent expansion teams. Um, I mean, yeah, like I said, I'm all for expansion here, and don't know how far they could stretch it out because, I mean, I feel like they've done a pretty good job at giving Vegas and Seattle at least somewhat competitive teams. I mean, Vegas just won the cup, so uh, they definitely have done a good job at doing that for them and making them competitive. So I'm all for it.
And the other thing too is uh, the expansion fees are going to be somewhere right around $1 billion because Vegas was $500 million to buy themselves in. Seattle was $650 million to buy in, and the league keeps growing in revenue every year, and it's been very very high this year. I mean, they're expected to make another huge step forward in terms of revenue in the league. So they're looking at about $1 billion for an expansion fee, and if they open up, in a few years, the expansion process, I feel like we're gonna get at least four teams, one for each division at this point. Um, so it'll be interesting, and they're probably gonna go for well over $1 billion each just for entrance fees alone, or expansion fees. Sorry. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see what happens. I know, like I said, the Jazz owner really really wants a team. Um, and he's been talking with the NHL for years now about having a team, and now they're kind of really pushing the NHL to open up the expansion process. So I think the NHL is really just gonna wait and see what happens with Arizona first before they even try to open up the expansion process. So yeah, that's gonna be that. All right, so now for the not so good news. So five players from the 2018 World Juniors team for Team Canada have been requested to surrender to the London, Ontario police to face sexual assault charges. Um, we don't technically have any official names for these players, but we do. So Dylan Dubé from Calgary, Carter Hart from Philadelphia, Cal Foote, and Michael McLeod, and from New Jersey, and then also Alex from Menton, who has his NHL rights in Ottawa. He's been playing in the Swiss League this year. they've all requested leave of absence, indefinite leave of absence from their respective teams. So we assume that these are those 5 players who have been requested to surrender to the police. So basically, what had happened is in 2018, apparently 8 players from this Team Canada team sexually assaulted some woman at a gala event, and in 2019, the case was closed by Hockey Canada. They reached a $3.2 million settlement with this woman. In 2022, the London police reopened the case against some of these players and have now obviously requested them to surrender to the London police to face charges. It's unfortunate that this is happening. I mean, obviously, it's unfortunate what happened back in 2018, of course. But you kind of feel bad for these players because they thought maybe this is all behind them now. But this has exposed also some problems in Hockey Canada that at least the old board on that for Hockey Canada before they all resigned or just left the organization. It kind of exposed a lot of bad things that they were doing. Like, for example, they had a slush fund to help bury situations like this with players and sexual assault. It kind of exposed that they're using member dues for kind of a slush fund for that, for reaching settlements, so their players don't have to go to jail, etc. Not very, a good thing for Hockey Canada there, but now Hockey Canada is ran by a completely new group of people, so that'll kind of help. Also, like the NHL back then didn't have a lot of programs for things like this to help try and prevent things like this from happening, and now the NHL does. But the London police reopened this case. It wasn't the woman who was allegedly sexually assaulted by these players or her lawyers that reopened this case. This was the London Police Department that actually reopened the case, and now they are about to charge these players. We don't know if this is just going to be in front of a judge or if there's going to be an actual jury on this case. That said, the London police has stated that they're not going to release any official statement on anything until February the 5th. That is conveniently the day the NHL comes back from the All-Star break. So around that All-Star break is going to be very interesting because obviously we'll more than likely find out what's happening with Arizona during All-Star weekend, and then and then right immediately after that we're going to hear everything that's happening with these players. But Mike, just want to get your thoughts on this and what's been going on. I don't know what you truly know about any of this, but just some general thoughts from you.
Yeah, so crazy to see, more people getting caught up in scandals, man. So, yeah, I mean, this was such a long time ago, too. Like, what was it, like 5-6 years ago now?
Yeah, it'd be World Juniors is like end of December to, early January. So, yeah, it happened sometime around then, about 6 years ago now.
Yeah. Just crazy to see, man. I don't know if anyone's going to get charged or what's going to happen yet, but yeah, just another crazy case, man, in the world of sports here. You don't usually see this in hockey. Usually hockey, I feel like, doesn't have the drama like this. This is usually something that would be like a NBA or NFL story. But yeah, we'll see how all these players are are going to deal with this man, whether they're going to be suspended, whether they're going to be fined, charged, what's going to happen.
Yeah, I think worst case scenario, all these players are going to get released, and then also released from their NHL contracts and probably suspended from the league. I mean, we don't know. They could be potentially facing prison sentences for all we know. The problem is what more can the London police really prove about it? I mean, like I said, it's been 6 years, so what do they really know? That said, I feel like Hockey Canada and the NHL are both going to give the London police more information about their own, because both those organizations both had their own investigations into what had happened then. So obviously they're going to work with the London police, to at least give them everything that they have from their own investigations, to help facilitate everything. It kind of sucks too, because all these players, except for I believe Alex from Menton, they're all on contract years. Every single one of them are conveniently on contract years this year, all looking to get extensions and paid a lot more. So whether that means they're gonna, if they face jail time, it doesn't matter, right? If they just have to pay another settlement, it is what it is. They have money, they can handle that, right? But it's really gonna be, if they don't face jail time, then what's the league gonna do? Because the league is going to take action against them. That is absolutely for sure. And the teams might even take action against them as well. So it's a developing story. When we get more details on it, which is going to be 10 days from now, we'll talk more about it. But yeah, that's going to wrap that up. Kind of sucks what's going on there, and both these things dropped yesterday. You had this case dropping, and then about 2 hours later, the NHL announced that the Jazz ownership is requested for expansion. So it's kind of like people were saying, "Oh, the NHL's just trying to cover it up." I just think it was poor timing. That's it. I don't think the NHL really knew that this was coming, and when the Jazz ownership group went public with it first, anyways. So again, it was kind of just poor timing on everything. I don't think the NHL is actually trying to cover anything up with it. So moving on from that, Mike, I know we had a coaching firing or hiring in the NBA, so let's talk about it.
Yeah, so for this, I'm gonna go over the Adrian Griffin firing from the Bucks here. They were 30-13, and people were wondering to know why he was getting fired here. He led them to second in the East. It seemed like they were doing all right, but they had some problems here, and definitely was the reason he got canned. So they were lacking on defense this year. They were bottom of the league, or at least in the bottom half of the league in defensive rating here, and it's not something usual for the Bucks here with the defensive players that they have. So that just seemed very odd here. And also, it said that he lost the locker room, especially after the in-season tournament was kind of a thing. And the star player Giannis, he made a whole interview saying that he had no hate or no ill will against Adrian Griffin, but I think everyone kind of knows that he's the reason, or at least one of the reasons why he was kind of forced out. The team started dancing and freaking celebrating yesterday in their game with him, not as the coach, so that was kind of a rub the wrong way that they kind of talked about today. So yeah, just he got fired after leading a team to 30-13 record, and then the Wizards fired their coach, Wes Unseld Jr. I think that's pretty justifiable. They've been pretty horrible. I don't think he's a bad coach, though. I actually really haven't heard much on him, but I think that they'll find someone new. And yeah, just crazy to see the Bucks having to fire their coach after the crazy year that he's had. And then they bring in freaking Doc Rivers, bro. They bring in Doc Rivers, the notorious playoff choker, who they've already made memes already saying the Bucks are going to lose in the second round because they brought in Doc Rivers. So, man, I don't know what they're doing, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. You said they were lacking defense, but the problem is nobody in the league plays a defense, so who really cares? They're 30-13, dude. I mean, shit. It makes no sense. I know there's, obviously I don't think the players liked him. I mean, based on everything that happened after his firing, yeah, it definitely seems like the players didn't like him, but it doesn't really matter. I mean, the excuse that they said that they lack in defense, and yeah, I mean, statistically they do, but so does literally every team if you really think about it. I mean, nobody plays defense in this league. Um, but yeah, man. I mean, it's kind of just funny seeing a coach get canned in the middle of the season when having a winning record. I mean, you'd never see that in any other league. Um, but yeah, Doc Rivers, man, I don't know what they're thinking there, man. He is infamous for choking in the playoffs, but you know, it is what it is there. Yeah, man. The hire doesn't make sense. I mean, the whole situation really, realistically, doesn't make any sense at all. But especially hiring Doc Rivers, man, they're gonna lose in the playoffs. That's for sure.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I just can't believe that they picked Doc Rivers at all. Like, and I remember someone said, I think it was actually Kendrick Perkins, was like, "This is Doc Rivers' last chance." Like, if he does some fucking bullshit and he doesn't get to the NBA Finals with this group, then he's never gonna have a job again, man.
Yeah, I see that. I don't see a way he gets another job after this if he doesn't get to the finals with this team that he has. We'll see what happens though, man. I mean, they still got half the season left, so um, we'll see how he does as head coach. But the playoffs is what really is gonna matter here. Will he choke or will he actually prevail? That is yet to be seen. Now we're gonna head back to football. It's kind of a cross between college and NFL. News dropping yesterday evening. Jim Harbaugh is leaving University of Michigan to coach the LA Chargers. I know you're happy about this hire for the Chargers. You get a legitimate head coach on a team that you really really like, of course, and with an elite quarterback in Justin Herbert. I think things are looking really good for the Chargers, and I just want your initial thoughts on this.
Yeah, so glad they finally got themselves a competent coach, or at least someone who's had some success in the past. So Brandon Staley should have been fired years ago, and I don't think they would have been able to make this hire of Harbaugh had they fired Staley 2 years ago. But they finally are able to get a competent coach here who Herbert can work with. I know that Harbaugh is really big on Herbert. He thinks he's going to be really good. And I think that this is going to be great for the Chargers. Do I see them winning a Super Bowl? Nah. Like, I'm not going to go that far, but definitely someone worthy of, Harbaugh's had experience in the NFL before, so it's not like his first time in the NFL. Some college coaches, like let's say Nick Saban, they're really good in college, goes to the NFL and doesn't do shit. But Harbaugh has had success in the NFL, so that makes me feel confident. And he's won before, so he's won in college and went to the Super Bowl in the NFL. So I like that hiring for sure.
Yeah, it's a good hire for sure. As a Michigan fan, it kind of sucks, but in my honest opinion, I'm happy he's gone. I really am. I mean, he's kind of just been a distraction the last few years. He clearly hasn't cared about recruiting over the last 3 years. I mean, a team wins the Natty, and they're almost guaranteed a top 5 recruiting class, and they have the 19th ranked recruiting class right now, and I'm sure a lot of those recruits are leaving now because Harbaugh's leaving. Um, I, here's a question for you. And I want your honest opinion here. Um, is Harbaugh leaving Michigan in a worse state than when he came to Michigan?
Hmm. I don't know, man, because like you said, the recruiting class is 19th, and I think a lot of the reason too is the whole cheating scandal. I think just that alone probably drove recruits away before even Harbaugh even left. But now that he's gone now too, yeah, I don't know if it's in the worst state because they were pretty damn bad over those years with Brady Choke there. So and uh, Michigan football had some rough years, but I don't see them being as good as they were last year for sure. They definitely are going to start taking a step back, but as long as they can still compete, that's all I'm hoping for.
All I'm hoping for is I hope we hire Sharon Moore as our head coach, have some sort of continuity. He's a really good head coach. I mean, we saw him in the 4 games he was head coach for this year when Harbaugh was suspended both times. And he's been calling the offensive plays for the last 2 years anyways, so it's not like he doesn't have any experience with play calling. He's a great play caller. That said, I think Jim Harbaugh is leaving Michigan in a worse state than when he got here, and I'll tell you why. I don't. One, when he came to Michigan, he had a roster full of NFL talent. If there's one thing Brady Hoke was good at, it was recruiting. He was a hell of a recruiter. I mean, Harbaugh inherited a roster with like 19 NFL starters in it, or on it. Current NFL starters on it. That said, look, when he got here, Michigan's clean image was still intact. That's completely gone, considering all the cheating scandal and recruitment violation scandal. The recruiting class, like I mentioned, lower than when he first got here because the recruiting class that Brady Hoke had coming in was ranked, I believe, somewhere in the top 10, if I'm not mistaken. And plus, on top of that, a lot more NFL talent on the roster. There's not a whole lot of NFL talent on this roster. A lot of guys are now leaving, entering the portal for Michigan as well, so that is not a good thing for them. So yeah, I think honestly he is leaving us in a worse state than when he got here. So my thing is I really hope they hire Sharon Moore. If not, I heard Brian Kelly's name in the mix. I don't think he's going to leave LSU. I really don't. The smart move would be obviously hire Sharon Moore. I just don't think that's realistic. Or not realistic. I just don't think it's realistic for them to hire anyone else. I know Brian Kelly's been wanting the Michigan job forever, but why would he leave LSU? It's such an easier school to recruit to than Michigan because it's in the South. Everyone wants to play in warm weather, right? So, yeah. I've heard PJ Fleck's name thrown around. I don't want him at all. I mean, I don't think that'd be a good fit at all for Michigan. He can't recruit. He's a bit of a weirdo. And he had a losing record this year. I want a coach that can have a winning record, and I don't think PJ Fleck's that guy. It'll be interesting to see what Michigan does there, but what do you think coaching situation? What should Michigan do here?
I think Moore is the play here. I think he did a great job while he was there, and I've heard Brian Kelly. That's the main name I've been hearing thrown around. But like you said, man, I don't know if he leaves LSU. I that's kind of the only two names I've really heard so far. I know you threw out a couple more names, but I think Moore, man, would be my choice.
Yeah, I think more. I mean, it's the obvious choice, right? I mean, he clearly did a very good job this year when Harbaugh was suspended as head coach. I mean, what he did in the Penn State game was incredible. A lot of coaches, especially trying to prove themselves that they can be a head coach, would have kept their ego up because Michigan could not pass the ball against Penn State. The pass rush was just way too good, and the coverage was way too good. Um, that we could not pass, and he just decided, you know what, we can run the ball on these guys all day, and just ran it the entire second half. I mean, a lot of coaches trying to prove themselves would get their ego would get into their ego and start trying to still do what they actually want to do. He put his ego aside and just said, let's just keep running the ball, and we'll do great things. So I mean that's the mark of a really really good coach. He kind of did something similar in the OSU game. It wasn't to the effect that he did it in the Penn State game, but also Harbaugh. I forgot to mention this with leaving the team worse off. He's gutting this coaching staff. I mean, he's taking a lot of guys with him. Obviously, he's taking his son with him, special teams coordinator for Michigan. Jesse Minter is pretty much confirmed going to be the defensive coordinator for the Chargers. He's a guy who wants to be in the NFL. There's just never an opening to be defensive coordinator until now. And I'm pretty sure he's going to follow Harbaugh to the Chargers. I mean, stylistically, his defense is NFL style, so I mean, it would be a great fit and a big boost to the Chargers because they have a lot of defensive talent. So I think that would having Jesse Minter there would help a ton with that. But yeah, it's interesting to see what's going to happen for sure. I think Michigan will hire Sharon Moore. I wouldn't be completely surprised if they didn't, but that would also slightly depend on who they actually did hire if they don't hire him. But if they don't, man, I feel like he's gonna get a job somewhere because I feel like, and it's gonna be at a Power 5 program for sure because he is really really good head coach material. So it'll be interesting to see what comes of this. Like I said, though, I think Michigan's in a much worse spot than they were when Harbaugh first got here. But yeah, I'd like to see Sharon Moore because he's a really good coach. He knows the program. He can keep a lot of at least the offensive players here because they at least know him, know his scheme, fit his scheme. So I feel like they'd stay. The big problem and the big question now, really, especially since J.J. McCarthy went and has said he's going to declare for the draft. The big question will be at quarterback now for Michigan. Honestly, I don't know if anyone on the bench is going to be really worth it. I think we'll probably have to go to the portal until we find a quarterback. But also, Sharon Moore's a really, really good recruiter. So I think that would definitely help having him at the helm and not just as an offensive coordinator. But like I said, we'll see what happens. We'll keep an eye on this story, of course, more so to just do with what Michigan's going to do. But the coaching carousel for the NFL has been wild. Bill Belichick has not gotten a job yet, so I think he might be a little bit done for, man, because there's less and less jobs each day now, it seems. But yeah, Mike, anything else you wanna hit on before we get out of here?
No, I think that's gonna be it for this episode, man. Kind of touched base on all sports areas and everything going on.
Yeah, that is true. So, thank you guys so much for listening. Of course, Tuesday we will be reviewing all championship weekend stuff. If anything major comes up with especially this investigation ongoing in the NHL, we'll talk about it. I don't expect really to hear anything until we hear what the London police say come come February 5th. But yeah, we're gonna fill in some gaps next week with some other things that we're just gonna throw ideas at the wall, see what sticks. But yeah, rate, review, subscribe, help us out. Let us know what more you want to see, of course. Again, thank you guys so much for listening, and we will see you guys on Tuesday.